Hey guys, Kevin Downey here from Kevin M. Downey and Strategic Advisor at Aptive Index. Today's video, I want to talk about drive-based hiring, what it is, and if you're a business owner or a leader, executive, manager, performance of people is in your court, you're going to want to check this out. I want to show you why you should care about drive-based hiring, what it's all about, what it means, what it can do for your business. Okay, so first of all, Aptive Index, if you haven't heard of it, jump on their website. If you want to test it, let me know, send me an email, or there's a link on our website, kevinmdowney.com, for you to test it, take the assessment. It takes 8 to 10 minutes. You'll get a PDF. It'll blow you away, the level of accuracy. And what I want to do in this video, again, is talk specifically about drive-based hiring. So I'm not going to dig into the AI or that kind of stuff today. I just want to talk about drive-based hiring in particular and why you should. I want to explain what it is and ultimately why you should care what it is. Okay? So drive-based hiring. So drive-based hiring matters because we have been hiring the same way in the United States for a long time. We go off of skills and experience, resume, all that stuff, two of the worst predictors of performance, of future performance of hires. And we've got a 42 to 47% turnover rate in the USA, depending upon what data you believe, what statistic you look at. And we're not changing what we do as a whole, right? We keep doing that same thing over and over again. It's kicking us in the head and we're just not getting it. Drive-based hiring matters. So what is it all about, right? Well, when you implement Aptive Index, okay, drive-based hiring is, and I've got it in a footnote here for client prospect presentations, but drive-based hiring. So it's like, it's in a nutshell, it's hiring and managing people by matching what drives their decisions and actions with the jobs, with the positions, right? It's the difference between, and from a layman's explanation, someone being engaged in a job and the day just flying by every day, and somebody be completely disengaged, sometimes called toxic, where they're literally watching the clock every minute of the day and the day goes so slow. And if you've ever experienced that or had an employee on either side of that, especially on the negative side, you'll understand, right? So Aptive Index is all about measuring what are called cognitive psychology attributes, okay? And this is what, there are 8 of them, so it is 4 primary attributes and then 4 standalone attributes. These are the needs and motivations that drive our decisions and actions. And they're established when we're young, right, as teenagers, basically, and they don't change. They remain very stable over time. I have taken a competitor's product 5-6 years ago and took it about a year ago, and nothing changed. I was exactly the same all the way through it, right? Now, is Aptive Index a better product? Absolutely. But that product is very good. It measures the right things overall, right? And it does it in a similar way. So what we know is that statistically, this is one of the most proven ways to hire people. Okay. The worst ways to hire people are skills and experience and resume. They are 2 of the worst predictors of future success. And again, we go back to the turnover rate in the United States, right? So when we look at drive-based hiring, and I'm being a little long-winded here, we're going to take a microcosmic example of something in my agency we deal with all the time, and that's sales hiring, right? And so the most common role that clients are trying to hire for, and I'm just going to use this as an example because we have 4, I'm going to show you 4 different profiles of, core profiles of representatives in sales, okay, and how they're different. And especially 2 of them, which clients are trying to hire one person to do 2 things, sometimes 3. And they're 3 different people, right? They're 3 different patterns, and it's why we keep having these failures. And this is just, again, a microcosmic example of what we see in hiring in general because we're hiring the wrong way. We're hiring on skills and experience. So microcosmic example. Take a B2B company comes to us. They want to hire a sales representative. That sales representative may or may not manage a customer base or be an account manager in the long run, cross-selling, upselling to customers. They may not be. They may just be getting, prospecting, getting paper, and then they're done. But they want them to prospect. So they want them to prospect and do business development every single day, 50 to 100 calls a day. And then they want them to sell and get them as clients, right? That's the most common job we deal with in B2B. And the problem is that why we're seeing a lot of sales team restructuring in the United States is because, at one time, hunter sales reps, which is the core profile that companies are looking for, right? You had a time when they could go out and they could spend 6 hours and talk to 15 to 20 decision makers, just boots on the ground, door to door, or on the phone. And we don't have that anymore, right? So their engagement level by percentage was relatively high. As we were moving into COVID, we were seeing it harder to get a hold of decision makers, right? They were becoming more remote. And then obviously COVID comes and exacerbates that problem in a lot of ways. So now we're dealing with a much tougher group to get a hold of and get in front of. And these hunter sales reps are not built, they're not wired, as we call it, through their drives, their attributes. We use those terms interchangeably. They're not wired to sit there and do cold outreach every day. They want to sell, right? So the prospecting part, when they were working 20, 30 years ago, and they could go out and spend 6 hours again and get a hold of 10, 15, 20 decision makers in a day or on the phone, right? No big deal, because their percentages of their day was spent presenting, doing what they're wired to do. They were doing lead generation to a degree, yes, but they were also selling, right? Because they had enough by percentage to do that. They weren't failing nonstop in the cold outreach process. But now we reach past COVID, and all of a sudden we're hiring the same way. We're hiring the same profile to sell, but we want them to go prospect first. And it's a much longer and harder game to do that now, right? So when we look at a hardcore BDR profile, it's built for hardcore cold outreach. Day after day, 50, 100 calls a day, just banging it. Completely opposite. Look at this. Completely opposite core profile that we are trying to get versus a hunter sales rep. Yet we're still trying to hire, and companies are using skills and experience and resume to hire salespeople, and they hire the salesperson. They've got a glorious resume. They're great in an interview, which, by the way, they're wired for that, just like a one-call closer. They're gonna, and so is a farmer in most cases. They're gonna be great in the interview, right? They're typically gonna be able to sell themselves in an interview. And they look great on paper. They've got sales experience. They worked in your industry. They've done, or somewhat related industry. They've met quotas and all that fun stuff. But they did it for 15 years and they haven't prospected in at least a decade. Right now, it's a completely different game. And we are seeing these salespeople get hired, and all the expectations are so high and the needle never moves. Nothing happens. Why? Because prospecting has become so difficult. The routine of having to call 50, 100 times to get a hold of 5 people doesn't match up in the time, and they get de-energized. They get completely deflated, right? You can call it all kinds of different things, but it doesn't fit what they want to do, what they're built for, right? They aren't built to sit there and do that. They want to present to buyers. They want to sell. They want to get paper. They want to hunt it down. They'll follow up with leads like crazy. But the cold outreach process, especially when we're having to make that many dials or do that much prospecting every day, doesn't match up with what they want to do. And that is why you go and hire them off of resume, skills, and experience, and nothing happens. They don't move the needle. Happens day after day. We hear about it every day with people. So what is the solution? The solution is Aptive Index. Hire the right person for what you need them to do. Another part of this, specifically within sales, is we're seeing a change in sales team structure where hunter sales reps, or they could be one-call closers or farmers, are being handed leads, appointments, whatever, excuse me, because they aren't built to do cold outreach, and companies are tired of them not doing it. So now they're hiring fewer salespeople. They're making sure they're booked, their schedules are full, or they've got enough leads that they're dealing with, or inbound leads, so that they aren't wasting time doing cold outreach and research because they're not built for it anyway. They're not doing it. So why do we keep trying to do it that way? Right, so that's what we're seeing in sales. Now, this is a microcosmic example of drive-based hiring. You want to hire for how they're built for the job. In other words, if we look at this, we've got this pattern and the job requires X, then we know like they're built for it, right? So if we look at, we look at something like this, right? We've got Leo. he's pretty darn close to a good pattern. He's technically an SDR, but he's pretty darn close to the pattern we're looking for a BDR. Okay, he's technically an SDR, so a little bit different, but that's what we're looking for. But would I hire Leo to be a hunter or a one-call closer? No, not a chance in heck. He doesn't, the profile doesn't even line up or even close, right? So this is what drive-based hiring is all about. And Aptive Index is the platform. You have to look at it because it changes the way you think about everything, about hiring people, about managing people, everything. Okay, so if you want to check it out, schedule a call with me. I'm glad to help you. I can get you started on it, no problem. If you want to just test it, you want to try out the assessment, there's a link on our website, kevinmdowney.com. There's a link in the description here on YouTube. Also, if you have an email from me or something, you probably have a link somewhere. Check it out, try it, look at your results, read them, and realize how accurate that is and what it tells you. And it only takes 8 to 10 minutes. What it tells you will blow you away, the accuracy level. And once you see that and you jump into the platform and we take a look at this, you're going to say, the light's going to turn on and you're going to say, now I'm starting to get it. This is why this science is so proven and it's worked for years and years and years. Implementation, not as much in businesses should be, but that's where Aptive Index and its AI ARIA changes the game entirely, and I talk about that in another video. Anyway, thanks for being here today. Want to test it out? Get to us, kevinmdowney.com. Best of luck in business, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.